Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
A tentative insight into the natural world. A concept that is not yet verified but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. A scientific hypothesis that survives experimental testing becomes a scientific theory. A belief that can guide behavior. The architect has a theory that more is less. A well-substantiated explanation of some aspect of the natural world. An organized system of accepted knowledge that applies in a variety of circumstances to explain a specific set of phenomena. True in fact and theory. A tentative insight into the natural world. A concept that is not yet verified but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. A scientific hypothesis that survives experimental testing becomes a scientific theory. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. A proposal intended to explain certain facts or observations. A tentative insight into the natural world. A concept that is not yet verified but that if true would explain certain facts or phenomena. Capability of existing or happening or being true. There is a possibility that his sense of smell has been impaired. A possible alternative. Bankruptcy is always a possibility. A future prospect or potential. An abstract or general idea inferred or derived from specific instances. Make by combining materials and parts. Some eccentric constructed an electric brazier warmer. An abstract or general idea inferred or derived from specific instances. Reassemble mentally. Reconstruct the events of 20 years ago. Put together out of artificial or natural components or parts. Create by linking linguistic units. Construct a sentence. Create by organizing and linking ideas, arguments, or concepts. Construct a proof. Draw with suitable instruments and under specified conditions. Construct an equilateral triangle. The event that occurred at the beginning of something. The creation of something in the mind. An abstract or general idea inferred or derived from specific instances. The act of becoming pregnant. Fertilization of an ovum by a spermatozoan. A vague idea in which some confidence is placed. It strengthened my belief in his sincerity. Any cognitive content held as true. A statement that makes something comprehensible by describing the relevant structure or operation or circumstances, etc. The explanation was very simple. The act of explaining, making something plain or intelligible. I heard his explanation of the accident. Thought that makes something comprehensible. An investment that is very risky but could yield great profits. He knew the stock was a speculation when he bought it. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. A hypothesis that has been formed by speculating or conjecturing, usually with little hard evidence. Speculations about the outcome of the election. Continuous and profound contemplation or musing on a subject or series of subjects of a deep or abstruse nature. To believe especially on uncertain or tentative grounds. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. A hypothesis that has been formed by speculating or conjecturing, usually with little hard evidence. He dismissed it as mere conjecture. Reasoning that involves the formation of conclusions from incomplete evidence. A hypothetical description of a complex entity or process. A structure supporting or containing something. The underlying structure. Providing a factual framework for future research. The physically discrete element that Darwin proposed as responsible for heredity. A theory that social and cultural events are determined by history. Based primarily on surmise rather than adequate evidence. Hypothetical situation. A hypothetical possibility, circumstance, statement, proposal, situation, etc. Consider the following, just as a hypothetical. A person who poses for a photographer or painter or sculptor. The president didn't have time to be a model, so the artist worked from photos. Construct a model of. Model an airplane. A representative form or pattern. A hypothetical description of a complex entity or process. The computer program was based on a model of the circulatory and respiratory systems. Worthy of imitation. Model citizens. Representation of something, sometimes on a smaller scale. A woman who wears clothes to display fashions. Something to be imitated. A model of clarity. Someone worthy of imitation. Every child needs a role model. The act of representing something, usually on a smaller scale. Create a representation or model of. Form in clay, wax, etc. Model a head with clay. Assume a posture as for artistic purposes. Plan or create according to a model or models. A type of product. His car was an old model. Display, clothes, as a mannequin. Model the latest fashion. A hypothesis that is taken for granted. Any society is built upon certain assumptions. Audacious, even arrogant, behavior that you have no right to. A statement that is assumed to be true and from which a conclusion can be drawn. On the assumption that he has been injured, we can infer that he will not play. The act of taking possession of or power over something. His assumption of office coincided with the trouble in Cuba. Celebration in the Roman Catholic Church of the Virgin Mary's being taken up into heaven when her earthly life ended, corresponds to the Dormition in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Christianity. The taking up of the body and soul of the Virgin Mary when her earthly life had ended. The act of assuming or taking for granted. Your assumption that I would agree was unwarranted. A hypothesis that is taken for granted. The cognitive process of supposing. A hypothesis that is taken for granted. A message expressing an opinion based on incomplete evidence. The cognitive process of supposing. A hypothetical description of a complex entity or process. A quilt made by sewing patches of different materials together. A theory or argument made up of miscellaneous or incongruous ideas. Sewing consisting of pieces of different materials sewn together in a pattern. Small flat ring-shaped cake or cookie. Be all mixed up or jumbled together. His words jumbled. Assemble without order or sense. She jumbles the words when she is supposed to write a sentence. Bring into random order. A theory or argument made up of miscellaneous or incongruous ideas. A confused multitude of things. A motley assortment of things. A theory or argument made up of miscellaneous or incongruous ideas. Concern for your own interests and welfare. Ethics. The theory that the pursuit of your own welfare is the basis of morality. Chemistry. Any theory in which all matter is composed of tiny, discrete, finite, indivisible, indestructible particles. Psychology. A theory that reduces all mental phenomena to simple elements, sensations and feelings, that form complex ideas by association. Chemistry. Any theory in which all matter is composed of tiny, discrete, finite, indivisible, indestructible particles. The theory that the parts of any whole cannot exist and cannot be understood except in their relation to the whole. Holistic theory has been applied to ecology and language and mental states. Physics. A theory that explains a physical phenomenon in terms of a field and the manner in which it interacts with matter or with other fields. A sociological theory based on the premise that society comes before individuals. An anthropological theory that there are unobservable social structures that generate observable social phenomena. A sociological theory based on the premise that society comes before individuals. Linguistics defined as the analysis of formal structures in a text or discourse. The theory that the parts of any whole cannot exist and cannot be understood except in their relation to the whole. Holism holds that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Chemistry. Any theory in which all matter is composed of tiny, discrete, finite, indivisible, indestructible particles. A theory of the structure of the atom.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.